everyone. We are from Merpati's group, and today we will share our findings uh, that is entitled Language Teaching Method Implementation in Don Bosco Elementary School. So our group members are Febyola Susanto, 11 2018 064, Dinar Petra, 11 2018 065, Yonasya Nabila, 11 2018 074, and me, Laurencia Liana, 11 2018 080. Okay, so this is our background of our presentation. English course for children need to regard the important aspects in creating or preparing learning activities. The ways to introduce English as a foreign language to young students is very special. So as a teacher, they must prepare the teaching to be more advanced language course because the students may not understand why it is important to learn L2. There are many reasons why teachers need to implement the method and technique in TEYL theory. This will answer the question on how to create an effective learning for children. For instance, creatively creating an enjoyable and positive learning environment can equip students with a strong foundation for success in their academy. The basic skill of the students will prepare them for more advanced language courses. This report interprets English young learners teachers in implementing the method in real context of learning. So let's move on to the next slide. Context of the school. Context of the school, please. Yes. So here in Don Bosco Elementary Private School, there are 12 classes for grade 1 to grade 6, and every class consists of 30 to 40 students. They are in a week. Students have English lesson twice. Each meeting is about 80 minutes length, and the facility that is provided by the school is projector, computer laboratory, and English club as an extracurricular, and it is provided to support the students' English learning process. So the students also assisted by the 3 English teachers. And the next slide is about the information about the interview participants. So here we have an English teacher of Don Bosco Elementary School. She is graduated from Satya Wacana Christian University, and she has a well experience in teaching young learners. Next slide will be explained by Dinar. Dinar, please.
So we move to the next slide. Next slide, please. So we are going to talk about the instrument process of the interview. We are done this interview on July 4th, 2020, around 11 a.m. until 12:43 p.m. The method is mi-structural. That means we are giving the question to the teacher and the teacher answering our question. And the interview section was done by WhatsApp and recorded in English language, and we are provided for about more than 13 questions. Our main question is 13, and we have several follow-up questions for the interviewees. We move to the next slide. So we already find out about a lot of things in this interview, and some of our findings are the first one is we are asking about the method that the teacher used. Before we talk about the method and the main point about this slide itself, so I'm going to talk about the curriculum that used in this school in Don Bosco. elementary private school. They are following the government curriculum 2013, which means with the curriculum 2013, but they have their main focus is language to be that used to be learned to use to be as a tool to communicate. That's mean they're mostly focused on speaking and interaction with others members of the class. The main focus is to speaking and communicate. So before we already asked about what the teacher's consideration before deliver the material on what kind of teaching technique that the teacher use and why she's using that kind of technique. So the teacher answering this question basically she choose the material based on the curriculum itself and depends on the topic. The technique is used basically depend on the topic and the student age. The When the student getting older, they are basically ask the teacher will be provide them with the long answer and more about about their thinking skills. And then when the young age, the teacher provide the student with like a short yes or no, and then mostly focus on their um, motor skill, how to work with the motor skill. That's why the method that the teacher use in the class is audiolingual to support the uh, to support the goal itself to be communicate in English. They are able to communicate, the student able to communicate, and total physical response. Basically, why the teacher choose to be why the teacher choose this kind of method is basically because of, according to the teacher, usually young learner, they're learning from what they have done, what they have seen, and they have heard. So they are mostly focused on audiolingual method and total physical response. The next slide is um, will be delivered by Febyola Susanto. I'm sorry. Febyola, the floor is yours.
So thank you, Dinar. The next slide, please. So the next slide, we are going to talk about how teacher engage students' attention. So actually, when you being or be a teacher in a young learners or you teach a young learners, you have to create a fun and enjoyable classroom atmosphere because it's one of the possible way or the effective way that teacher can do. So our interviews or Miss P make a game to attract students' attention during process learning, and if they behavior good, they will give. But if they cannot follow it well, they will be given punishment that is also called as a reward. And uh, and as being a teacher in a young learner, you have to create a unique or fun game to make them more interest and to build the atmosphere so they will uh, really enjoy the process of the learning. And you have to find out what they need and what they interested in to make it more clearly to teaching them. And the next questions will talk about how teacher cope with the students' errors. So Miss P, in this case, they take a note and pay attention for all children turn by turn and one by one. And Miss P didn't correct them directly because it will impact the students feels unconfidence to learning English. So Miss P will tell their error or what happened on their process of the learning during the semester when the right time. So she will tell when it's come right. So the next slide will be explained by Fio.
Language use where the students is will not uh, too dependent to use their native language, but the students also can acquisition their target language. And the next, how do teachers respond to students' capacity? Before before starts the class, usually the teachers uh, create or sets rules for the students who have different needs or students who have different attitudes while the language learning process. And the student also provide extra time and extra explanation and purpose to help student when the student have problems or have difficulties when they are not understanding on the teacher's explanation or teacher's um, means and something like that. And next, two teachers do drilling in the class. The teachers usually repeat vocabulary if the students having difficulties. The teachers in the class will find that students have a difficulties of problem on their understanding of the teacher's explanation, uh, teachers communication or something like that. The teachers will use repeat drill to make sure the students or understands what the teachers means. And now let's move to uh, the next slide.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to the next result. This is interesting. Okay, next slide, please. This is about the strategies that the teacher used when they found some difficulties or some challenges in teaching to young learners. So here, the teacher using technology to support the learning activity because Mrs. Miss P think that technology can create real illustration because such as videos that may create what really happened in the real life, and teacher also use real picture or PPT and cards. So those tools make be supportive for the learning process. And the other result is about the teacher consideration. So before giving students assignment in vocabulary level, the teachers need to consider what is the student's current knowledge about the material and what they have got during the learning activities and other things that they are possible know about the material. So next is the how to keep students motivated to join the lesson. The teacher use right activity. What is right activity? Right activity. Uh, what I mean is the activities that may be appropriate for the students' interest for the what approaches that need by the students. So other than that, the teachers use rework, daily tasks, and body movement, even some games to attract the students' attention. And then the most challenging for the teachers is to manage the high number of the students in a class with their own characters, that is whether they are active or talkative or even super hyperactive. So these strategies may help the teachers to avoid difficulties to face the what we call it challenges in teaching young learners. So next, next slide, please. Okay, suggestion.
So the next we are going to talk about suggestions that we received from Miss P. So the teacher needs to be aware what the student need before decide the method of learning, and she also suggests us to think twice whether we want to take or we want be an English teacher in the future or not. And then he also give us some a little suggest about we have to teach English not only for young learners, but we have to teach for all groups like adults and professional, because it will make us more confident with the way that we choose, whether we choose young learners, adult, or the older one. Next, the conclusion will be explained by Vio.
So in the conclusion, the teachers keep the learning activity fun and giving some present to the students who are well behaved. This means that the teachers should keep the learning activity fun, creates the atmosphere comfortable where the students are confident to use their their target language, and students are confident to communicate, confident to express their idea. And this is also help students uh, to be fluent in the class. And also teachers give a kind of present or gifts to the students who are well behaved. This is also the teachers' strategies to keep the students keep motivated in the learning. So here is our screenshot while having an interview with the teachers. And we cannot show the face of the teachers because she is mentioned that she don't want to be exposed in our video presentation. And thanks for a bunch, and especially for Mrs. P. So here's we are is in the end of the presentation.
Okay, this is the end of our presentation. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching.